the DMV Gridiron, highlighting the best in high school football in the DMV.
Hello DMV fans, welcome to this week's recap edition of DMV Gridiron. I'm Gregory Lloyd Coleman alongside Skylar Nelson. Last week provided close games and big time performances. We are here to bring them to you.
From overtime in Oxon Hill, down to the wire at Friendship Collegiate, we will bring you last week's matchups and a preview of this week's matchups. We also have an important breakdown for one of the games by our very own Derwin Gray.
We first start with the Friendship Collegiate Knights versus the St. John's Cadets. Myself, Kyle Alexander, Courtney Anderson, and Aisha Murphy covered a close battle that ultimately came down to the wire. It started with running back for the Cadets, Dejan Tally Rhodes, rushing for a touchdown before Chris Alston caught a touchdown for the Knights to bring the Knights on the scoreboard. They later missed the 2-point conversion. Before halftime, the Cadets threw a Hail Mary that was caught between two Knights defenders for a touchdown. In the second half, it was straight fireworks as the Knights came back with two scores to take the lead late before the Cadets leaned on Tally Rhodes to score one more on the ground. Cadets linebacker Tariq Bowen would later cause a strip sack that was recovered for a touchdown. The Knights were not finished yet, however, as they threw a prayer that was caught inside of the 5-yard line before they scored the eventual touchdown. Unfortunately, the 2-point conversion was not successful, and the Cadets defeated the Knights 28-26. The Cadets will look to continue their momentum versus the St. Michael the Archangel Warriors at home on October 4th at 2 p.m. The Knights will play the Mount Zion Prep Academy Warriors, whom are winless on the season, at home on October 9th at 6 p.m.
You all had a phenomenal game that you attended. The only thing that could have made that game better was overtime. Thankfully, when the Oxon Hill Clippers took on the Potomac Wolverines, we got just that. Julian Ravel and Chris Bryant were on the scene for that contest, and it was a great one. The game started out as a back and forth affair before the fourth quarter, where the score was tied at 12 apiece. The Wolverines had a QB draw for a touchdown before the Clippers responded with a drive ending in a jet sweep to score another touchdown and extra point to take the lead. Another jet sweep extended the lead to 26-18. The Wolverines scored another touchdown late and converted a 2-point conversion to tie the game and send it into overtime. An interception by the Wolverines set up quarterback Demarion Baxter to throw the game-winning touchdown to win the game 32-26. The Wolverines will be 4-0, headed to play the Laurel Spartans on Friday, October 3rd, while the Clippers are now 3-1 on the season, suffering their first loss, and look to get back to their winning ways as they play Wise on Friday, October 3rd.
That was definitely a big-time matchup. Now, Skylar, you, Darrell Hogan, Peyton Amari Smith, and Winter Sky Galloway covered the Dunbar and Poly game. I'm not gonna lie, that game was a blowout, with the final score of 50-6 in favor of Dunbar. Did you want to dive deeper into that one?
I sure do. Compared to the other games covered, it was a dominant performance by the Dunbar Poets. Their defense set the tone early and never took their foot off the gas pedal. They sacked the Poly Engineers quarterback 3 times in a row and forced many interceptions that halted their momentum. On the offensive side of the ball, Dunbar took advantage of every opportunity by scoring many touchdowns with great efficiency. Poly's only highlight came in the fourth quarter when they scored their lone touchdown in the game. Dunbar will look to build on that momentum as they play Lake Clifton this Friday at 5 p.m., while Poly will look to defend their home against Forest Park at 3:45 p.m. on Friday.
What a dominant performance by Dunbar. That is a team that we got to keep an eye out for when it comes to playoff time. We now turn our attention to this week's matchups and who we have on the lookout with a huge game this Friday between Riverdale Baptist and the Bath Academy. There are players on both teams that are going to be key to the matchup. For a deeper analysis on the players to watch, here is our very own, the phenomenal Derwin Gray.
Thank you, Greg and Skylar. Friday Night Football is shaping up to be a beautiful one as Riverdale Baptist goes on a roll to take on DeMatha Stags. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. Temperatures are right around 66 degrees. Perfect condition for fast-paced action. Players should be able to give it their all without worrying about any cramping coming their way or slowing them down. You don't want to miss this action. The DeMatha Stags are rolling with a perfect 4-0 start. Fresh off a dominant 41-0 shutout over Mount Zion Prep Academy, the Stags have their antlers up high and their ears locked on keeping this undefeated season alive. And now, here's my key player to watch for the match. Senior wideout LeVar Keys, the 3-star Penn State commit, has been showing up big time in big ways for the Stags. Known for his smooth route running, Keys creates separation and makes life tough for the defenders. You'll see him all over the field, often in motions to create mismatches. He's already drawn early comparisons to former Nittany Lion, KJ Hamlin, the former second-round draft pick by the Denver Broncos, and tonight, Keys will need to bring his A-game if the DeMatha want to keep their undefeated season alive. On the other side, Riverdale Baptist hasn't had the start to the season they have wanted, dropping their first 3 games, but the Crusaders have finally found the win column with a 34-24 victory over the Long Island Lutherans. Now they're looking to build on the momentum and keep the streak alive as they hit the road to take on the DeMatha Stags. And here is my key player to watch for Riverdale Baptist. For Riverdale Baptist, it's not just one guy, it's the offensive line unit. They will need a big day up front if they want to establish a strong offensive presence. With a pair of dangerous runners in the backfield, reestablishing the line of scrimmage and executing combination blocks and getting hats on the DeMatha Stags linebackers will be key against a physical Stags defense. And those are my keys to victory for both squads. I'm Derwin Gray, and you're watching DMV Gridiron, where the action never stops. Back to Greg and Skylar in the studios.
Thank you, Derwin, for that amazing analysis. We have a lot of games to look forward to this upcoming weekend. In addition to Riverdale Baptist and DeMatha, we have McDonough versus Mount St. Joseph, covered by Winter Sky Galloway, Urel Hogan and Peyton Amari Smith. Potomac School will also take on Bishop O'Connell on Saturday at 2 p.m.
And I will be on the scene with Julian Revel as Bishop McNamara takes on Archbishop Carroll at 1 p.m. on Saturday. This looks to be a great weekend of high school football.
And on that note, that wraps up our broadcast for the day. Thank you for watching DMV Gridiron on Scholar Athletes Sports Network.
For the latest news, updates, interviews, and game highlights on all things DMV high school sports, be sure to follow us on Instagram at sasn.tv, at tvsasn on X, formerly known as Twitter, and subscribe to Scholar Athlete Sports Network on YouTube. And tune in also to our website, dmvgridiron.com.
Be sure to tune in next week for another edition of DMV Gridiron, recapping this weekend's games and previewing next weekend's events. From SASN TV, I'm Skylar Nelson.
And I'm Gregory Lloyd and Coleman. Have a splendid rest of your week, DMV fans. And as always, stay blessed.
The DMV Gridiron, highlighting the best in high school football in the DMV. Follow the best in DMV high school football, players, coaches, and teams at dmvgridiron.com.